Hello, everybody. Okay, I will get started now. Thank you very much for joining us. Today, we decided to talk about a topic which is very special to us at Opti Digital. And we believe that you are in the same situation as us because you are attending this webinar. Thank you for joining. We are going to talk about technologies to embrace in order to balance our business goals with our environmental responsibility. Today, I am with Sébastien Mout, who is my business partner at Opti Digital, and who will help me answer any questions that we have at the end. And my name is Magali Quintel-Rem. I am the co-founder and the CEO of Opti Digital, and your host for this new webinar. So let's start. We are going to follow this plan. First of all, understanding the advertising ecosystem and our responsibility and how and why does it matter. Then identifying some solutions on how to improve our business, our industry, to basically save some carbon emissions. And finally, we'll keep some time for question and answers. I'm not looking at the chat for now, but if you have any question during the webinar, please feel free to drop them there and we will answer them at the end. So just about Opti Digital in one slide. It's a company operating from France since 2018, and actually today is our 5th birthday. So we're very happy to celebrate that with you guys. We have developed innovative solutions mainly for the sell side. The first one is Opti All-in-One, which is a technology that is like an advanced monetization solution synchronized with Google Ad Manager and bringing more than 10 features to really increase the revenue. About 2 years ago, we also started to develop another technology, which is a dynamic floor pricing solution, which is plugged to your publisher stack in order to maximize the revenue for your real estate. And Opti Engage is an ad format, which is enriched server side in order to bring with a simple pre-bid connection high value and high revenue for publishers. And all that is brought to you guys from our expert team. And we account for about 400 media and networks as clients today over Northern America and Western Europe. So first of all, let's understand what is the impact of the advertising industry on the ecosystem. I would like to do a little question to you guys. So I'm going to release a poll to see if you have an idea of how much it matters. So you should see the poll appear on your screen now. What is the annual impact of greenhouse gas emissions from digital advertising, according to you? So is it 8 trillion showers of 8 minutes? Is it the annual emissions of approximately 355 million cars? Or is it the power supply for around 148 million households in the US per year? Okay. Okay, I will end the poll now because you are going to realize that actually these are the results of your votes. But the reality is that the 3 answers are true. And digital advertising accounts for about 4% of all the greenhouse gas emissions. So it's important, first of all, to understand like where does it come from. We decided to quote here a report that has been done by Scope 3. It is more focused on programmatic advertising, and it doesn't contemplate anything related to newsletters, spam, or the really everything which is not programmatic. And if you look at this pie, basically it says that all the ad exchanges related to how do we select an ad from different DSPs and SSPs and so on before really displaying it on screen accounts for 60% of all the emissions. So this is really the most important thing to focus on when we start working about improving our carbon footprint. Another element which is important, and here I'm more talking to the sell side because we are more used to it, is the media distribution, meaning the 10%. This media distribution in this chart is related to the display of creatives on the user screen. Okay, so where as a publisher or as a media owner or as an SSP or DSP, you are able to really play a role is here on this ad selection and media distribution. So how to explain this carbon footprint? Why is it so high? Basically, before we display an ad on the screen, I'm not going to teach you all the technique behind it, but basically, when we set up an ad server, we basically implement pre-bid and open bidding and Google and transparent ad marketplace by Amazon. And all these technologies are going to call SSPs, which are marketplaces that are going to call DSPs, that are actually buying tools used by the brands and the agencies to buy an impression. And only one impression is going to be displayed after thousands of exchanges which are happening in the background. So the first thing that about what we recommend is actually to start measuring your impact. So how to measure the impact? There are some initiatives, some consulting firms as well that help you to implement methodology and to see where you are now. And then from this picture, we are going to define objectives which are reachable and measurable. And from these objectives set, we define actions. And from these actions, we start reducing in order to reach our objectives. One of the most important initiatives is Ad Net Zero, which is actually, it was born in the UK. It's not available everywhere in the world. It's not available in France yet. And it actually has one target, which is to help all the advertising industry to make a commitment in order to reach carbon zero by 2030. Other organizations are more for-profit companies, and what they do is that actually they provide some technology which is low carbon. They are eco-designed SSPs or DSPs, or they provide data segments. Other companies like the Trade Desk offer to disintermediate all this long ad exchange process between SSPs and DSPs, connecting directly their DSP to the publisher. And then other companies are offering some, let's say, to give back some of their revenue to NGOs for sustainability. At Opti Digital, we do several things. Our products are eco-designed, and we will see how we work on these topics. One of the first things that we recommend is actually to streamline your ad calls by, let's say, keeping your house in order. So something that has been analyzed by sellers.guide is that the number of ads.txt rows in an ads.txt file has increased by like 71% in 1.5 years and is now reaching about 459 rows in average. So this is a problem because basically it's authorizing a lot of sellers and resellers to sell your inventory on a very large number of exchanges, marketplaces, and creating a lot of intermediations, a lot of indirect path to the publisher inventory. So in the end, it's going to probably cannibalize a little bit all the direct rows that a publisher has a direct relationship with an SSP, and it's going to cannibalize the revenue coming from this direct relationship for more intermediated paths, which are less eco-friendly. So one of the first things to do that we recommend is to actually measure the uplift that is brought by the sellers. And for this, we recommend an average of about 10 bidders client side, okay? And you are going to implement only the ads.txt rows that are really necessary for those bidders. We wanted to share with you a little experiment that we have done on one publisher. So this publisher is let's say, concerned about their web performance and also about how they could limit the number of ad calls. So at this point on a specific ad placement, which is a billboard, we did an experiment, an A/B test, and from 12 bidders connected with an eCPM of 2.56 euro, we actually did a change, disconnected some bidders, and we ended up with only 4 bidders instead of 12. And the results were quite surprising because we didn't see a significant decrease, actually, in terms of performance, in terms of revenue. But in general, we improved the carbon footprint and we improved the web performance. So the cool thing about this test is that it shows that basically we may have a more eco-friendly ad industry, which is beneficial to the publisher, who is not going to lose revenue. It's beneficial for the advertiser, which is going to have more direct path to the inventory and less ad fraud and so on. And it's also beneficial for the web performance. Everybody wins and the user would experience a faster website. Another thing that we would recommend is also to implement server-side header bidding. So that's more for the sell side as well. But we have to say something is that server-side header bidding is not a solution by itself. So we are reading some posts that are a bit weird, but in our opinion, what is important about server-side header bidding is that it enables to do a lot of things that would be very complex client-side. For instance, the first thing about the server-side header bidding is that basically all the calls are done from one location, from one server, instead of being distributed across a lot of end-user browsers. So we need only to open like one connection with each SSP, one socket. And the very cool thing about server-side pre-bid server is basically that you may do bid throttling. Bid throttling, to make things simple to understand, is that basically having algorithms, technology that is going to select to which SSPs we are going to send bid requests. Because we believe that if we send them specific SSPs, they are going to answer better and more often. So we are going to filter all the ad inventory for the SSP, and the SSP is going to have a much higher bid rate and a much higher win rate. So everybody wins. Oh yeah, then I had a slide for that. So we reduce the number of bid requests that we send, and every ad response, every bid response is actually more efficient. It has a higher value, and we avoid doing unnecessary ad calls. Another thing that we should do, that we really recommend, is actually to go up in the chain, because we talk about doing server-side operations. Where our servers are and how is their energy supported is very important. So if you are selecting a server provider or cloud provider, try to select this provider according to their commitment towards sustainability. In our case, we have been studying what Google is doing, Google Cloud, and we really like their approach of planning to be carbon-free by 2030. So we decided to go for that type of provider. And then we would like to also explain type of initiatives that may become reality now for sustainability. It's OptiEngage. So this is one of our technology. Basically, this ad format is combining several technology that are sustainable into one. First of all, this is operated with a server-side technology, meaning that there is no extra library delivered from the client browser. We do bit throttling, so it reduces the number of exchanges that are done with a lot of SSPs. We only send some bid requests to some SSPs, and we enrich it server side. So every ad response is going to have a higher quality, a higher CPM, a higher value for the publisher. And the results are observed by publishers, like just with a simple pre-bid connection, they are going to reach a revenue which would be about +5, +10% in RPM. Following this idea of reducing the carbon footprint by displaying only high value ads, basically here we talk about the 10% that were on the scope 3 pie at the beginning. So this is something that publishers may actually do, is avoid wasted impressions. So there are several ways to avoid displaying a lot of low value impressions, but actually to focus on very high value impressions. So one of them is actually implementing lazy loading. So it's a technology that is going to be, it's okay for ads. It's also okay for actually any element on your site that would be displayed on page load. By lazy loading an ad, you are avoiding to display creatives that would never be seen. I mean, not all the end users are scrolling down on mobile. So if you load all your ads on page load, all the ads that are below the fold would probably never be seen. So by using lazy load, you make sure that you display only visible creatives. You don't generate unnecessary bid requests and calls. So actually here, this is how we do it at OptiDigital, but we know that there are several ways to do lazy load. In our case, we don't do any call until the end user is reaching a distance, just is about to see the ad, right? And in the same way as having a sustainable approach is also beneficial in terms of quality. Here, having this sustainable approach is also having very positive side effects. Like we have a higher loading speed, we improve the user experience. And in terms of profitability, we are going to improve viewability. So by having a higher viewability rate, we attract more demand, more qualified ads. So for example, we at OptiDigital, we do a lot of A/B testing, and we develop artificial intelligence in order to find what is the best loading parameters in order to reach a high viewability rate, and to thanks to lazy loading, and to make sure that we don't call ads that would be completely wasted impressions. Another technology which is interesting to avoid displaying ads that would have no value is the use of dynamic price floors. So usually when you don't do anything as a publisher, you would have probably some floors that are applied in the SSP platforms and some floors that are applied in your ad server. But these floors are not traveling along the supply chain. So there is a pre-bid floor module now. I think it's was released about 2 years ago. And this is a very interesting technology because it enables us to actually calculate floor prices thanks to artificial intelligence. So we are going to segment all the audience, calculate what is the best price floor to have the highest ad request eCPM, and send this price floor. And we are going to send it to the ad server, but also to all the SSPs that are connected via Prebid or via transparent marketplace. And we set the floor. We would send it to the SSPs, and the SSPs would actually read that in the bid request and travel this floor to the DSPs. And contrary to a floor that would be applied at the end of all those calls, only in the ad server or in the SSP, here, by sending the floor upfront in the bid request, DSPs will have this transparent information, and this transparency is going to prevent completely unnecessary ad responses, which would be disqualified in the end. So we are going to avoid unnecessary bid responses from DSPs, and this is going to be more sustainable. Something else, which is a consequence of implementing dynamic price floors, is that basically by sending a floor which may be quite high on some segments which have a high value because we have a big cookie pool, because this is the end user, he's connecting with the most recent mobile device and so on. Sometimes what we see as a side effect is that dynamic price floors are increasing the level of unfilled inventory. And actually, thanks to this technology, you would save time. You wouldn't have to do manual flooring, but also it increases the ad request eCPM. It increases your revenue for your real estate by about 20%. And delivering 20% fewer impressions. And then you may decide to leave this space blank or to display a very light creative, such as that one, in order to communicate on your commitment to have a more sustainable approach. So just a quick summary. This is a very, very broad topic, and we could go and continue much further, but we have a limited time here. We know that we have a high impact, okay, in terms of advertising industry. All the players have a high responsibility, but the positive thing about our advertising supply chain is that it's quite easy and easier to go greener than other supply chains. And we all have to do our part to reduce it. And if we have to focus on one thing first, is actually on streamlining codes. So making sure that we don't call a lot of SSPs, a lot of DSPs, that we only connect to the SSPs that are really bringing value. And also to make sure that we do our homework and that we implement some technology, supply side, such as lazy load or dynamic price flooring, in order to avoid wasted impressions and to avoid unnecessary greenhouse gas emissions. So I think that's all for now. What I may say is that it's important to work as much as possible. And I think one of the first things that AdNet Zero is recommending is to do a public commitment about what are your intentions, and to make sure that everybody in your organizations and in your partners is following this commitment. All right, so I'm done. Let's start with the questions. So I don't think we have any, do we? No, I don't think so. Okay. So thank you, Shaima. So indeed, we are organizing this month of June the OptiDigital Green Challenge, which is an initiative to actually do some sports all together in order to raise funds and to plant trees. So feel free to sign up thanks to the link that we shared in the chat. And a question, what role can data analytics and machine learning play in optimizing digital advertising campaigns in this context? Sebastian, do you want to answer?
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Maggie, for this presentation. It was very nice. Yeah, so machine learning is very important actually in optimizing and finding the right configuration, typically for dynamic flowing. Most of the solution, this is the case for Optil, but most of the solutions are based on machine learning in order to predict what is the ideal price floor that you should use to leverage stimulate the market and make sure that you sell your inventory at the best price, and then reduce automatically low value impression, and make sure that, as Magali explained before, there will be less response with low value and less creative display at the end, maintaining and improving the yield of the publisher at the same time.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. If there are no more questions, we will finish here. Remember that you can contact with us at any time, and that we'll be happy to answer your questions if you have some at the end. Bye-bye.
Bye.